Today, we're going to learn about reverse speech technology with our guest, David John Oates. So welcome, David. Glad you're here.
Thank you very much.
All right, but reverse speech technology is the most interesting, potentially societal changing thing I've ever heard.
Right.
And I consider myself a subconscious behaviorist. We're fascinated here with anything that the subconscious controls. And this idea of reverse speech is just phenomenal. So I want to introduce our web TV audience to this reverse speech.
Thank you.
Tell me again, what is the basis of reverse speech?
Well, the name reverse speech refers to hidden messages in our speech. The theory is that as we're speaking, we're creating the sounds of our speech in such a way that we're saying two things at once, one forwards and one backwards. This is a natural function of language. All of us are doing it all the time. What we do is quite literally, we record people speaking and run the tapes in reverse. And when you run the tapes backwards, about once every 30 seconds or so, you can hear a very clear phrase amongst the gibberish. That is what is happening on the conscious as well as the unconscious level. The unconscious mind is speaking in reverse, embedded backwards into the sounds of our speech.
Right. All right. This is the part. I could spend the whole show just on this one idea because this is great. Let me make sure I got it and they got it. And you're from a funny land. Australia, where it's hard to understand anything you say. By the way, reverse speech isn't just because in Australia everything is backwards. The water goes backwards, the speech goes backwards.
It does too.
So here's what I love about it. So what you're saying, what your proposal is in this model is that our subconscious mind, while we're walking and talking and everything, it's beating our heart. It's pushing our blood around. We're not thinking about any of that. It's telling our breathing how to regulate. But as we're talking, it also has its own commentary.
Yes.
It's making a verbal commentary on what we're saying, how we're feeling.
Exactly correct.
And it's in reverse.
It's in reverse.
Right, and it doesn't matter what we're saying forwards. It's not just the words backwards.
Oh, no.
That's the interesting part. It's a separate commentary, not just, it's actual like if you had a little guy on your shoulder who is telling the truth about what you're saying, whether you're saying the truth or not. So in a sense, the societal changing part is that if it wasn't in reverse, if we had a way to hear it, expose it, in a sense, nobody could lie again.
Nobody could lie at all. No,
right, because you'd be constantly telling on yourself about how you really feel.
Exactly right. It's a constant voice of truth that is continually occurring as we are speaking. If we're lying forwards, we'll get the truth in reverse. If we're hiding facts from our conversation, they can also be in reverse. One of the great things about it too is that if we have issues, psychological issues or behavioural issues, reverse speech can often give us the unconscious reasons for those issues. It's whatever is happening in the unconscious has the potential to appear backwards in our speech.
Right, so sometimes our reverse speech is congruent to what we're saying. I mean, we
Correct.
feel and we're honest and congruent with what we're saying. Like, I'm happy you're here, and I might be saying reverse, I'm so happy. Right? Or I could say, I'm happy you're here, and in reverse I'd be saying, get this guy out of here, right? And depending on how I'm feeling, how congruent, and we learned early in life to say one thing and sometimes feel another. And then the other thing is that what you're saying is that it reveals maybe information we don't know.
It's truth according to the individual.
Right, what I believe, their reality.
Exactly correct. Their reality, their viewpoint, their perspective. It's interesting when you say sometimes it can tap into things we don't know, because at the deepest levels of reverse speech, we're actually tapping into a common collective unconscious knowledge, where we're tapping into that universal mind, which is quite fascinating.
Okay, so yes, and I again, those are issues I think are bigger issues. So there's really different applications, different levels. One is societal.
Sure.
One is societal, meaning that. In today's society, we don't listen to our politicians live. They're all recorded.
Right.
And so they make all these public statements, crafted statements. But with reverse speech, it has the potential to tell us how they really feel about what they're saying.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah. It's got an amazing potential to look into the minds of our politicians and find out what they're really thinking and really feeling. Some reversals on Barack Obama are very revealing as to what his real intention are.
Interesting. Yeah. So there's a huge potential right there. That if you could never make a public statement, without your true feelings about that
Right.
statement being known, it could dramatically change society.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, the bottom line of reverse speech essentially means that the human mind is no longer private. We now have a reliable way of going into the human mind and finding out what's really going on and really transpiring. It takes us a whole lot further than the polygraph, which will tell us the truth or lie. This will go a whole lot further and
Right,
tell
because
us.
it reveals,
Right.
it's not just yes or no.
Right.
Now,
I think that the unconscious communicates the truth no matter what. And even though we can become very skilled at lying, and some people are brilliant at it.
I'm a good liar.
Right. The unconscious is still going to betray the truth in some way, shape or form, either through that subtle slip of the tongue or a subtle body language movement. But now, of course, we have reverse speech, which I don't believe it can be trained to lie. What it did was it got teenagers around the world playing records backwards, trying to find these hidden messages.
Okay.
And they found other messages that the Beatles hadn't put there.
Right.
And then this big woo-woo sort of conspiracy theory arose. How are they getting there? And people claimed it was the devil. And then when I started my work, it was one thing to find it in music, but then I accidentally stumbled across it in human speech a few months later. And it really started to raise a whole bunch of questions for me. If this is occurring in speech and music, then could it not be a natural function of the human mind?
Of the subconscious mind?
Because the musicians aren't doing it intentionally.
Right.
And when I started taping Friends and finding out things they did last night and the week before and hidden secrets that they didn't want revealed, I started to realise this is really something very significant here.
Right.
And,
let me recap, in case someone joined us just now.
Right.
That as we're speaking forwards, our subconscious is giving a running dialogue of how we feel about what we're speaking forwards. And here, another interesting facet that I learned from you was that two people can read the same statement and come out with two different reversals.
Correct.
So it's not just the consonants reversed.
Right.
It's some other way that the subconscious is communicating in reverse in their speech.
Well, it's the sounds of speech that are causing it. Now, see, two people can say the same sentence, but their voice intonations are going to be different. They're going to put different emphasis on different words and different sounds. And so it's the way the sound is spoken at that precise moment is captured on tape that creates a reversal.
Now, we talked about earlier that this is has, I think, potential to change society if you can not suppress the truth. That if public figures, especially political figures, are telling us something, but yet their reverse speech, their subconscious mind is communicating a different feeling about it. If that was known to us, or we had a mechanism to reveal it, it could change society dramatically.
Sure.